and welcome back to Aston. Martin here at Silverstone for race number 10 of the calendar in Season 3. It is the race 2 years ago in which we signed Pierre Gasly. Just a side note in case Frontier is listening, by the way. At the very least for F1 Manager 23, can we have the option of signing drivers normally? As nice as it was to ditch Lance Stroll in Canada, having a normal driver transfer situation would be quite nice, and most importantly, have the AI be able to sign drivers ahead of time for the end of season. Just to give you that little bit of peril that you might miss out on your driver. Because otherwise you can just do it immediately after Abu Dhabi and you're fine. If you still want to try and do it normally. That being said, of course, last time out did mark 2 full seasons for Pierre, and he did that in style. So if you've not watched that video, do watch it now. The title does somewhat give it away in combination to what I just said, but never mind. And speaking of style, we need to talk cars. Because for some reason, I've overlooked the fact we've had a new chassis for a while. I genuinely do not know when this was built, but all I know is I never manufactured them, because that symbol there is a symbol they get for learning the car part. That's the middle part of the 100% thing after practices, and they don't have that on it. So it's not a case of me having them and then breaking them all. I just never manufactured them ever. As you can see from the comparison, it's marginal gains is one of those pieces like the suspension that I just made without wind tunnel hours. Similarly, we do have yet another marginal suspension. By the way, we broke all but 2 of those over the course of the weekend as well, thanks to Pierre. But this again is just marginal gains in pretty much every area. It's kind of like a one place on the grid gain in some spots and just staving off other people developing as well in other areas. But the big one I haven't put on yet, and even without showing the rank on grid version of this, you can see some of the massive ones here. Now, we know by now that 0.001 on an acceleration is actually quite a large gain, and we have that. Cornering, low speed, medium speed, okay. High speed, which is crucial for Silverstone, high speed cornering, massive gains in high speed cornering, particularly on the dirty air version as well. And yes, that brings our top speed up to 8th. It doesn't actually move us up in the acceleration charts, unfortunately, and doesn't change our DRS at all either. Our engine cooling has moved up to 9th, by the way, by virtue of another part. I think it might have been the suspension, as marginal as it was, or the chassis. I can't remember which one it was, but our engine cooling, we're now in the top half of that. One of our coolings is in the top half. Our brake cooling is still the worst of all. But high speed cornering, 3rd. We will be the 2nd best team in high speed corners, and we do move up obviously significantly as well in the dirty air version of those 2. And we'll be in the top half of the grid for the first time in a while for top speed, just full stop. So obviously we're putting that on, and there you are. There's the overall for our car. 8th, 10th, 6th, 6th, 3rd, 6th, 8th in dirty air. Looking good. But I will say, that's the last parts we get for the first half of this season. The new ATR period has opened. The next 4 races, we do not have anything that we can build in time. We are stuck with this car for the next 4 races, no matter what. Our next pieces come in on the same day, on the 16th of August, both front and rear wing. And that will see us probably through the remainder of the season. We might do one more round of things before we focus entirely on research for next year. But without further ado, let's get to qualifying. I'll see you for that now. I'll be honest, I was caught a little bit off guard by the fact he's entered practice 3 already. That was incredibly just straightforward. No fuss. Pierre went for a wander twice. Mick was fine, which has me a little bit concerned. But because of 3 new car parts, I never got them to do like a very short, low fuel run at any point. I had to kind of do maximum runs all the time just to get that car knowledge up. And it's still only 91%, but it's enough to get us 15 out of 50, which is the important thing. As for Mick, I did forget in the intro that this is the race where we're kind of going to have to take the penalties. Now, this is largely because of the ARS situation. We're kind of at the point where we probably ought to just get a new ARS in. So on the back of that, it's worthwhile just getting the others as well. The engine's kind of fine for another few races, and the gearbox in particular is fine for another few races. These 2 are done for, so this is the practice one. So it's kind of just preparing for the future. So if I'm going to take a reasonable penalty for the ERS, which judging by the penalty that Pierre had a few races ago, where I forgot to put the other 2 bits on, or chose not to put the other 2 bits on, that's 10 places by itself. So we might as well take those 2. On the virtue that he typically qualifies around 8th or 9th anyway. All he's going to lose there is basically 1 position, 2 positions from like 18th, 19th to 20th. So apologies to Mick here, but I am going to have to run into Q3 for incentive purposes.
Ready to check? Okay.
I need to get out before that Merc. Maybe they came quickly.
Green light.
The Ferraris come out straight away as well. I never really see that normally. Watch people come out now, by the way. Oof. Oh. Stroll just came out literally in the path of Mick Schumacher there. Yeah, that was massive. Pierre Gasly, Christ on a bike. Thanks, Lance. Once again, ruining Mick's race. Because now I have to run him again in qualifying and ruin another set of tyres just to be safe. Pierre, obviously fine. Yeah, so we should expect Mick on a clean lap to be probably 9th. Ricciardo's gone faster than Norris. So we'll get Mick out behind whoever fast car is going to leave a gap. It looks like the Ferrari might. Yes, that's a good spot. It's a good spot for Mick. The Ferrari is faster than him. The Merc behind is probably a smidge faster or on par. So, oh wait, actually, even better. The Williamses came out between Mick and the Merc behind. So, oh, that's perfect. We'll follow him off board on the kind of TV cam. I'm expecting him to be about half a second off the leader. Just on the basis that Mick is in qualifying, typically about 0.3 worse than Gasly. It's worth saying, by the way, here, Albon seems to be a lot faster here. I don't know if Doohan had an issue, and I kind of forgot to pay attention to Doohan in practice, but Albon was right up there in practice. And you can see he's qualified within effectively a 10th of Bottas, so they're kind of the surprise. The Hasses have slipped back by the looks of things. Max has crossed the line only 15th, so we'll get pushed out by Mick. How is Mick on a slower middle sector? I suppose he was held up in the first sector, actually, so middle sector was kind of free reign to be rubbish. Only goes 17th. The two Williamses left behind. Williamses are behind Mick, so there goes Mick into exactly 9th, as predicted, and exactly half a second off the leader. Sometimes I know this game. 6,000ths of half a second exactly. So Doohan doesn't improve, which is a little odd. The fact he's 7/10ths worse than Albon. And Norris actually finds the time to push Mick down. Oh, Mick into top 10 might be a problem. Despite those upgrades, Mick into top 10 could be a problem. I mean, he's got the penalty anyway, so it doesn't really matter all that much, but I want it for the incentive. Where's this come from Danny Rick? We'll try and get him out straight away. The Ferrari is going to split us, but that's fine because it's going to be behind Pierre, so he won't be that much faster than him. Okay, no one... It's happened again, but I think Mick got past Leclerc better there. Because he just got him at the start of the straight. Nope, never mind. He was massively held up again. Sorry, is this just Target Mick weekend? What is going on? I mean, he was going to have to run twice anyway because he was borderline to start with. Perez has had a problem. Russell's just put in a blind in the lap as well. That's made things worse. I would probably say that Gasly's fine, but I've already saved soft tyres for him already at this point. So there's no real concern sending him out again. So I'll just do that. I know Perez is probably going to go faster. Hamilton, Ocon have got space. Vettel's in the top 10 for the time being. Ricciardo's that little bit slower than Norris this time, which gives me that tiny bit of hope for Mick. Just Albon's come out of nowhere this weekend. It's like they've given all the upgrades to Albon this weekend rather than Jack Doohan. I think one of the McLarens has just gone already, sort of miles ahead of anyone. It's a 1.5 second lap. I won't be surprised if Ricciardo, that is, I won't be surprised if Ricciardo catches the last people on his flying lap. The second we see Gasly move, we click Mick. Oh, okay, so Gasly just ended up in a gap anyway. That's a bit unfortunate. Oh, Mick's come out ahead of the Red Bulls. It is Perez first of the two, so that's not as bad. In qualifying 1, Perez was, I think, basically the same as Gasly. So we might be alright there. Also, everyone ended up coming out with plenty of time though. I could have held Mick back for like a good solid 30 seconds just to get him out on track right at the end. But we are on board. Not sure where the sector lines are. Gasly actually goes faster in the first sector than last time, as does Mick. That's good news. Well, Mick was basically guaranteed because I think that's where the blockage happened for him. Ricciardo's just jumped to 4th. What the I mean, I feel validated for sending Gasly out now. Ricciardo's just jumped to 4th. Are we actually getting track evolution? There's no way that McLaren is suddenly good enough for 4th. Albon goes 4th now. Are we genuinely getting track evolution here? Gasly goes faster again. I mean, this might be tyres as well. Russell only gains minimal. Sainz only gains minimal. Norris now goes 5th because someone else has jumped up there. Can't see it was one of the Ferraris, I think. Leclerc. Gasly goes back up to 3rd, which is great. And then Mick, better first sector, better second sector, just sneaks 10th, but there's Perez. And Stroll still exists. Oh, Stroll's crossed the line before the checkered flag. Oh, I was 100% validated sending Gasly in the end because Ricciardo ended up 10th. And he was the first person to go ahead of Gasly. So Gasly would have ended up 11th if I hadn't sent him out again. In fact, he might have ended up 12th, but would have ended up 11th anyway because of Mick. What is happening at Silverstone? Where have these cars just come from? Bear in mind that our car's been improved for this weekend. Oh, the worst part is Mick's qualifying 2-time was better than Danny Rick's qualifying 1-time, but he found just a margin more as well. Oh, that was absolutely tyres then, because they were kind of very similar from Q1 to Q2. Everyone found like a little bit, but they were quite similar, so everyone just had a slower first time in Q2, probably because of tyres. I've not said anything about the weather, by the way. It's sunny all weekend for a change in the UK.
Okay, should be green now.
Yeah, we don't have any concerns for rain here. Also, I did notice like the grandstands were kind of half full, and as Gasly gets stuck on Leclerc, and Sainz does, everyone basically gets stuck on Leclerc on their way around there, so I don't know if that's affected anyone. Everyone seems to have done all right, really, except for Leclerc himself, who then had to get past everyone. Yeah, Leclerc being out of sync there only hurt him. Everyone seemed to get past him fine, and then he just had an issue clearly with someone on his way around himself. 30 degrees, apparently, actually. I suppose it's June, isn't it, in the game for Silverstone. I'll see if I can get out behind this Red Bull. Nice. That's a nice sweet spot for Pierre behind the Red Bull. One of the few cars that's definitely marginally faster than him. I don't know which one it is. If it's Perez, that's going to be perfect. It is Perez. Please tow my boy. Please tow my boy all the way around, Checo. And it's Russell behind as well, who is the marginally slow of the two Mercs. Right, Pierre, keep in touch with that Red Bull. Let it punch a hole for you. I feel like he's not kept in touch that well. First sector, though. I mean, to be fair, with the animation in game, I do wonder what improvements they can actually make to the animation in game, because I feel like they can't really get too in detail with the sort of straight up animation for like corner cut to corner. It's like, you know, slight variation, slightly missing the racing line, that kind of thing. I feel like they can't get too nuanced with it in a game like this, otherwise the coding would end up being insane. It's all about just sort of simulating that in the background and then just sort of estimating that as best as possible through what you see. It's the same thing with Football Manager, where all those decisions are nuanced under the hood, but then it's the graphics engine that quite often lets it down in terms of what you see versus what it's actually trying to tell you. The better first sector from Pierre. Bear in mind that he did his first time on used tyres, by the way, and I suspect once again everyone else didn't. So Pierre's got the room to grow here, and he has done better first and second sectors as he goes through the last chicanes. On to the pit straight. Perez has crossed the line and not improved. Gasly has crossed the line and has improved to second. Now, we're still waiting on Leclerc, who can obviously build time, but no one else is doing better time. Sainz just fraction. The two Mercs crossed the line ahead of the checker flag, so it's just Leclerc left. Still waiting on Leclerc. He came up miles behind everyone else. And Leclerc does still pit with used tyres. That's impressive, actually, from Leclerc. But third for Gasly. Second row of the grid. Behind Verstappen. Might be actually a sensible thing. Just let those two fight each other off the line and capitalise. I'm going to be annoyed if... Okay, so Ricciardo at least was consistently faster than Mick's best time. So I'd have been annoyed otherwise. And even more kind of sound news there is Norris and Albon improved to get into the 126.6s in Q3. Not that it mattered, but did put themselves a little bit of a distance. Any of these strategies... one strategy does use a soft. Now, I suspect this medium to hard is going to be borderline at best. And it is. So... Actually, I'd probably argue that's probably about 40% off the mediums, then the hards gets probably under 40%. I feel like pit stops, though, here are detrimental, but I just feel like Pierre's going to push. He has got a set of softs. Oh, I'm being stupid here. What am I doing? Will that be enough to pit and get ahead of people? Apparently it's marginally faster, and it's the only way you can actually do a faster race, but it's only 1 second in it. I feel like doing it because I feel like if you go softs, and then if there is an instant in the middle of this medium, then you can just go hard, depending on where it happens. And to put Mick in a similar boat, but the other way around, because I feel like with Mick, I feel like when this lot pit onto hards, I feel like he can like really push those mediums at the end of this stint to get ahead of them when he pits onto softs. Because if they're doing the two-stop, then they'll obviously... And then on this side of things, at the other end, he can get on them earlier and put in a few good laps to get ahead of them again. So because he's starting the back, it's kind of all about capitalising on those pit stop windows, really, more than anything. And this, at the very least, allows them both to push off the line.
Anticipation is high, and the drivers are ready for this. The British Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
I do apologise, by the way, if the background noise has been a little bit louder up till this point. I have just realised I obviously changed my sound settings to do the post commentary last time around and forgot to change them back as Gasly gets Verstappen, no, Leclerc, sorry, off the line, and now hounding the back of Verstappen instead. Mick still at the very, very back, 2 Williams ahead of him. Surprised that Pierre didn't make more of a move on Max there, as he's actually defending kind of from Leclerc. He's making the move on Max down here, though. Like I say, being on softs and pushing, I figured he might do a little bit more than that. And he's got the window to push as well, so I'm happy to let him do that. All right, so he's got 1 Williams in the back as well. That's Tsunoda dealt with. Out of curiosity, what's the split for everyone? Mediums all the way down to Hamilton. Gasly obviously the only one softs, since none of the strategies actually started with softs. Being briefly re-overtaken there, which is irritating. All right, that'll do for that. That'll do for that. I think Mick's actually got himself in a position to maybe take both Williams here. He has. Going the long way around, he's very much through goes Schumachering that. And onto the back of Zhou Guanyu. We'll watch this highlight, because it was actually quite well done. Just plonked himself in such a position, it just technically go off the track a little bit there, but that might just be animation. But yeah, it's a new last to first challenge. It's not going to happen with Mick, let's be real. But you never know in this game. You never know in this F1 world. So it's very important for Gasly to get a full second ahead of Verstappen by the end of this lap. And I'm not sure he is. It's through the corners he'll get him, I think. I think we still lack on the straight a little bit. Mick got Zhou. Good news. Deploy, deploy, deploy. Okay, so DRS is enabled now. The first DRS straight is not for a few more corners, but I just wanted to make sure that gap was there before we got to it. That'll do. Now we just have to hope that Leclerc and Verstappen fight well enough to slow each other down rather than break the gap, because that's where the issue comes in, is when they sort of DRS pass each other, and by virtue of doing DRS passes, they end up that little bit closer to Gasly. We have to hope they actually fight and slow each other down instead. As Mick gets Jack Doohan as well for good measure. Was that DRS pass? It might have been in a train. I don't know if that was a DRS pass or not. It wasn't. It was after the DRS. It is medium tyres versus hard tyres, so that's the benefit there. That's one more down. Everyone on hards, bizarrely, everyone on hards is 2 stopping. We actually know that. So everyone on hards is 2 stopping. So everyone Hamilton downwards, we know, apart from Zhou and Tsunoda, we don't know if they're going to do it, but everyone else is definitely 2 stopping down here. So these are absolutely fighting pit stop for pit stop with Mick, as actually he's having to go at Vettel, Magnussen, sorry, now. Both with DRS, but he's just straight up trying to get him. And he's on the inside, going into the last couple of corners. I think Mick's got Magnussen. This is excellent work, actually, because everyone's got DRS on each other down here. I'm going to rewatch that one, because this was superbly done. He's got the benefit of tyre grip right now on these hard runners, but nonetheless, that's really good driving from Mick. Don't get me wrong, I am expecting Mick to at the very least get to Hamilton by the pit stops, but he is making faster progress of this than I was kind of anticipating. Pierre Gasly has done fastest lap, and he's actually broken almost 2 seconds on Verstappen as things stand. Leclerc is forcing Max to defend. They're not swapping places, which is just allowing Pierre to drive away a little bit, which is crucial because he's going to pit earlier than them. And there's an issue in sector 2, apparently. But I think that might just be Zhou Guanyu. No, Jack Doohan. Oh, it's Jack Doohan right to the back. Yeah, I see. I was wondering why there was a big gap between Magnussen and Zhou, is because Doohan's dropped out of that gap. All right, so it's Stroll and Vettel fighting. Are they both on hards? They are both on hards. So, oh my God, this is generally through goes Schumachering. He's got himself on the inside of Vettel. He might inadvertently yield here. Oh, he's still going for it, actually. He's still going for it. Still got his nose in, going into the hairpin up here. And has forced Vettel out of the way. Vettel's coming back now. But I think he's going to end up getting him by the time he sweeps across there. And he will be the first one behind Stroll with DRS now, which should make this straightforward. And is straightforward. I'm going to watch that highlight on the back of that one because that was excellent driving in the end. And he has got all the way past these hard runners, apart from Hamilton now. By lap 5, that is... Mick comes alive in the races. I don't know what it is about his attributes that make him so much better in the race than the qualifying. But it's just Hamilton now, who is 3 seconds up the road. I'm not going to rewatch the Stroll because that was just DRS. So I'm just going to push Mick's tyres a little bit just to see if he can close the gap to Hamilton. That's not happening as quickly as I would like. So actually still closing slightly, even just pushing neutrally. Lap 8 within 2 seconds. I mean, there might be an argument now he's within 2 seconds to slap a lap on deploy. And he's within a second. Stop deploying, Mick. And Hamilton's borderline a second with Ocon here. So we might get a lap soon where he's not within DRS. In fact, he's not within DRS this lap. So Mick obviously has still had quite a bit to gain there, even with DRS. But he's going to put Hamilton under pressure now, I think. It's worth noting that Norris, I don't know if Norris qualified ahead of this lot, but he's got to the front of this queue with the two Mercs and Albon. I think he might know. He was definitely 8th, wasn't he, Norris? So he's got both Mercs in the first part of this race. They're all on medium tyres, the front 10, I think. The front 11, in fact, were all medium tyre runners. So Sainz now doing the fastest lap out of nowhere. So to leader, what is the pit stop out of curiosity? Pit window opens soon. 18th is the estimation. 21 seconds. I think it might be slower than that here. 19 on a clean run, 21. So he's saying it's somehow, remarkably saying it's somewhere between these two, which seems unlikely. So if Pierre in the next 5 laps can get enough of a gap to kind of fall in this gap between Magnussen and Tsunoda would be quite nice, because then it won't be too much later that this lot pit as well. Those that are one-stopping are going to go very long, as Leclerc finally actually gets Verstappen through a DRS section. Pierre's got the gap up to... I'm actually going to push Pierre's fuel all the way until he pits. Mick's actually taking Hamilton. Where's he done it? Is that the DRS zone? It is the DRS zone, yeah. Okay, so somewhat straightforward. I don't think he's going to zoom past Hamilton and stay zoomed past Hamilton. When's your pit window? 9 laps, so you still got to kind of preserve those tyres a little bit. Yeah, you're still kind of basically just on course for hitting 40% at the end. Hamilton's got the DRS on this straight, it's worth saying, but has taken the outside line, trying to sweep round, which... not quite worked out for him yet, but will do eventually, I think. Combined, it's helped cut the gap to Ocon, just driving like that, so we might actually get on the back of this train sooner rather than later. So pit window soon for Pierre, and Leclerc is actually now holding Verstappen up as well, so that gap's growing. So Mick 1.6 behind Ocon, 1.9 again, briefly. Okay, that might actually be enough for pushing the fuel on Pierre. He's driving by himself, so I'm slightly concerned he's not going to get that back now, but he's got 3.8 on that lot. Importantly now, to leader, 21. Oh, he could actually... oh, in 3 laps' time, he might come out ahead of Vettel. And that pit window is just straight up active now. I could still push him a little bit longer. He's still got 20% on these tyres. Last lap for Vettel, 132.8. Pierre's still doing 1 second faster than that. I might delay Pierre's pit stop by a lap or two. Now, obviously, his soft tyres are going off, so those lot behind are catching up a little bit. But he's got 22 seconds on them now. So I'm just going to attack the tyres now. So I think Pierre might end up hitting 1 lap later. Yeah, I think he's got 1 extra lap in these tyres. Oh, maybe I should have pitted him last lap, but he's going to come out clean ahead of Stroll now, which is the most important thing, and he's got a hefty gap ahead of Hamilton. With Mick's in the same boat, I could push his stint a little later, but Mick's situation is a little different. Okay, Pierre, into the box he goes. As I watch the 2 Ferraris and the 2 Red Bulls just kind of shuffle each other in the background there. I love the fact it goes like, it says the gap goes up to like 7 seconds just because of the virtue of the angle of the pit. But into the pit he goes. A 2.3, well 2.4 almost seconds. That's really fast. Does indeed come up behind Hamilton, of course, but well ahead of Stroll. No need to worry. There. I'm not going to push him on the outlap. Oh, Verstappen's actually coming straight away 1 lap later, so I am going to push him after all. Shit, that's my bad. I mean, he should come out ahead of him because he was 3 seconds ahead of him to start with, so he actually gained a second on Verstappen through that pit stop. It's worth saying, by the way, Mick's got into this train with Ocon. It's now headed by Russell because Norris has pitted. Okay, so Tsunoda and Zhou have pitted, actually, so for Mick, the issue lies that he's still gonna have an issue with Sargent if he pits, as Ricciardo now dives into the pit as well. I'm still pushing Mick's fuel. Yeah, I think we're kind of like on par with Mick here. Oh, there's a... well, it's a new fastest lap for Gasly, but Ricciardo ran wide on 16. Okay, so that's fine. But because someone's pit ahead of Ocon, Mick's now charging on that one. I actually do need to pit him onto softs now. And both Mick and Hamilton dive into the pit on the same lap. Mick off mediums, Hamilton off hards. So this is crucial to see where he comes out. Sargent still hasn't pitted, but there is a gap between him and Norris now, so I think we might get away with it. And Sargent himself pits as well, so that's crucial work. That's crucial work. Hamilton's got... oh, by virtue of the pit stops. It's a 2.4 second stop for Mick there, and he's still come out behind Hamilton because he had to be held, I think. That's crazy. I mean, there's no way Hamilton did a 1.3 second stop to get that 1 second up. Well, you're within a second, and Hamilton's not going to get a second, so you might as well just not push those tyres. Just let the DRS get you past him. Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him, get him. I mean, you're making hard work of this, Mick, aren't you? Christ on a bike. So Sainz and Perez are 1-stopping then. I kind of need you to be behind by the detection. Okay, that's perfect. You're behind by the detection point. Now you're just going to DRS away. Lovely. And you might actually DRS your way into the 2 ahead. Just make sure you're within that on the 2 ahead. That's going to be fine. Great, cool. Right, go for it. Did Ocon not pit? Ocon still hasn't pitted, so he's doing Ocon things as always. But Gasly's got him now. As crucially, of course, those front runners have gone on to hards for this period. So Gasly on another set of mediums, he's growing the gap on them. We're helping tow Ocon along a little bit, which is probably not helpful. And I wasn't certain what to do with Mick actually in this situation, but he is challenging Norris now. I think that's soft versus hards though, isn't it? Yeah, it's soft versus hards. So I need you to get on his... I mean, they're kind of working together, McLaren's here. I mean, this is crazy driving from the three of them. And there is Hamilton just lurking behind to do the classic, but I need you to be the first person behind Ricciardo here, Mick. Is Ocon going to come out ahead? No, he's come out behind. Okay, so they've lost out massively, actually, in the end. So Schumacher's taken Norris here, and it is Ricciardo next. And all this lot are on even pit stops. So this should be a doddle then. Albon just nips in on Hamilton, but Russell and Ocon have come out notably behind. Russell just about to keep in a DRS train, I think. But we'll watch that one. I mean, for a last to first here, Mick's doing all right, but his main problem is going to be probably his teammate in the end of all this. But Mick legitimately up to 8th on the basis that pretty much I think all of this lot are going to stop again. And he's done fastest lap in the meantime. And Mick is now free to challenge and go after Bottas. Ricciardo's going to come back here, but we'll fend him off, I think. Just try and build up a gap here, Mick. You are going to run out of ERS, I think, in the process of doing this, but just get that gap up, get on the back of Bottas. We'll maybe try and harvest on the back of Bottas here, if we can get to that. But he's kind of unchallenged by Ricciardo on this lap, so that's a new fastest lap as well. He's not going that much faster than Bottas, weirdly, despite the fact it's hard and soft. I do need to push these tyres, I think, just to try and get in a second on Bottas. Hamilton's locked up. That doesn't affect us. Oh, there we are. We're within a second of Bottas now. Oh, it's because Bottas has run wide. He's done it for us, bless him. Okay, so we'll harvest behind him because I don't think we'll catch Sainz. I think we'll still get Bottas, but even whilst harvesting. Gasly's now leading because everyone's pitted again. They actually are recovering fuel okay, so it might be okay on that front then. But 6 seconds to them two behind who are on the other set of tyres. Actually, it's probably good that he didn't get the overtake done there because he's now going to harvest a little bit of ARS. All right, don't leave yourself vulnerable to behind now, Mick. I can see Ricciardo lurking. Just use a normal amount here. You should be all right. So keep an eye on the Toledo stats here. A pit stop for Mick now will put him in the Magnussen territory. So that gap does need to grow. And Mick challenging Bottas at the end of the DRS straight and gets him, which is not helpful for DRS. It's not helpful for ERS harvesting. Gasly is unchallenged and on better tyres, so I might just take a lap or two here just to harvest up on him. I'll probably sacrifice a second worth of time here, but Sector 3's had a moment, but no one's off Albon. We will be okay on fuel, but it would be nice to have something in the tank for Gasly, at least. Okay, so the pit window is active on Mick, which is a little weird, because he's still on 65% tyres. I almost think he can go one lap later here. But at the same time, I think the tyre differential in terms of the grip provided versus the wear it's got. And same with Pierre, actually. Pierre can go a lot longer and have like a real good just like last stint on softs. I think Mick's getting close to the point where he's just going to have to blast these. Someone spun. Is he doing again? I think it might be doing again. Yeah. I might just attack the tyres and harvest with Mick now. Just try to, you know, split that gap. All right. That's enough harvesting. Just attack the tyres now. I'm ignoring that on Pierre as well because he's miles ahead at this point. All right. So it's Mick's pit stop now. And then we'll probably do Pierre the lap after that. We don't need to really do anything fancy with Pierre. Because it's medium to medium here with Pierre. So there's nothing really I need to do. And Mick's got a lap's worth of ERS now. So that's fine by me. Down the back straight he goes. No, hanger straight, sorry. No, that is the back straight. I'm looking at the wrong dot. Maggots, Beckers, etc. Now the hanger straight. Still 6 seconds behind Perez. Oh, actually, one quick check. 16 seconds plus 20. Oh, no, he's going to... Oh, no, that'll be 36. He's miles ahead of Magnussen. He's fine. Miles ahead of Magnussen. He's okay. Everyone on a hard's pitting again. And they're going to be going on softs to the end. Mick does the fastest lap coming into the pit, which might be accidental just because of where the pit lane check mark is. I mean, he already had fastest lap, I think, so it's not that bad of a situation to have kind of glitched out. Oh, who's gone white? I can't see anyone stopped on track, so I don't think it's just a brief yellow flag, isn't it? So that's fine. Who's Guan Yu? Who's at the back anyway? So we don't push the lap out of the tyres, just build those tyres in, and now we just attack Pierre's tyres to the lap where we think he just needs to come in. Actually, more to the point, it's all well and good Pierre pitting, but he needs to come out in a sweet spot. Now, right now, the sweet spot isn't good. You can always go on another set of softs to the end, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, Leclerc and Verstappen have pitted. That's the main thing. That's what we needed to wait for. And Mick does the fastest lap. I'm not even pushing Mick, and he's on the fastest lap. We tack these tyres through this phase then, while people are pitting ahead of Mick. Particularly Sainz is the one we kind of really want to get caught up on. But, nice. So, Pierre had a nice little buffer on them lot anyway, so the fact he's pitted second isn't a big deal. And 14 laps would have been easy softs as well, but I don't think we didn't have another fresh set. 2.4 seconds again. Lovely. There goes Hamilton. So Gasly comes out behind Russell, which is a problem, but still well ahead of them two. These might be people who aren't pitting again. So I'm going to try and clear these two as quickly as possible. They're fighting each other, which is a part of an issue here. But Gasly's got Albon. And this is part of the reason why we did sort of get a bit of VRS, is just so we can get them past them. It's going to be 3 wide at the end of the hangar straight. And poor George Russell with a bit of a sitting duck. He's got taken by both. Push that fuel a little bit again now. I'm going to keep pushing Mick on these tyres until Sainz comes in. But I'm not sure if Sainz is coming in again. Oh, I think they... Actually, that's a point. I think Sainz was the one... I think Sainz and Perez were the two that are definitely going to the end. And it looks like Russell and Albon and Ocon definitely are as well. So Mick will probably catch Ocon here as well at some point. So no more pushing on Mick. Oh, I'm still deploying Pierre. That was my bad. So Gasly does need to catch Sainz and Perez legitimately in these last 12 laps to get the win. I mean, he's done the fastest first sector there. Oh, Leclerc did the fastest lap, so it's worthwhile getting that again, which I think he might take. Yeah, he's done fastest first and second sectors. And a slower third sector, but he's still got fastest lap. A 128.5. That is a full 2 seconds faster than them at the front right now. So that will happen eventually. Mick versus Ocon, what are those relative times? It's about a second a lap. So he should catch Ocon by the end of this race. So Mick's looking for 8th place here. Probably. It depends how far Albon falls through as well. He's got Verstappen and Leclerc catching. So we can probably zoom through a few more laps. Minor incident for someone there. Okay, so it looks like both our drivers are on the verge of catching their respective targets at basically the same time. Has Bottas caught Mick? Is Bottas on softs? No, Bottas is on mediums as well. But Mick is now in DRS of Ocon. But crucially, it looks like Gasly just caught the DRS of these two up front. 7 laps to go. 7 laps to go, and I think Verstappen and Leclerc's 2-stop has been a bad idea. Someone spun again. Oh, it is a... Oh, he is going. I can say it's a Haas and he is stationary. And Pierre has well and truly caught these two. Now, obviously the issue here is the fact there's 2 of them. So I might just spend a lap harvesting with Pierre there, just to try and deploy him through them. Now, I don't really need to do that with Mick. I could just stick him on overtake and push his fuel as well for the same purpose, just so we don't let Bottas get caught up. Whilst this is happening, the DRS zone is coming for Mick here, so this should be hopefully straightforward. And is, yeah, that could have been that much easier if it tried. Now we'll just deploy away from him as well. Just get cleanly away from Ocon. Yeah, that'll do. Now, obviously we're not going to catch Leclerc, although I suppose it depends on what the relative time for Russell is versus Mick. Last lap was a 129 flat, but that's obviously because he was pushing. And Russell's was a 130.6. So it needs 6 seconds to get on the back of Leclerc. Now, that's a train. He's not going to get through it. Right, Pierre, now's your time. Get aggressive on these ones. I mean, you've got wide there, Pierre. I'm not fully certain what your intention was. It was not a line to take. He's going to be on the outside of Leclerc going into the first sector now, which puts him on the inside going onto the DRS straight. And that's got him, and that only leaves Perez, DRS-less, ahead of him. So that's them done. In fact, actually, I will continue to deploy away from them just to try and get the second on them. They're going to have DRS on this straight, but they are now outside of a second, so that's good news. Don't need to push the tyres either. Don't need to push the fuel either anymore. So I didn't watch the replay of that getting the lead replay, so that was my bad there. 3 laps to go. Mick is under 4 seconds behind Leclerc now. Verstappen has got Russell, which could be the problem, because Verstappen is now unleashed and might help tow them along. Mick's mediums are 10% worse than anyone else's. I'm just thinking, last 3 laps, he's on 60% tyres. I'm pushing his fuel still. He's on 60% tyres. I might just go full attack on those tyres last 3 laps. But once again, Pierre's kind of left for the last few laps, not needing to really challenge anything on any of his 3 things that he can push on. But 59% medium tyres. Do I just go full attack, try and get in the Leclerc train? I think I go aggressive this lap. Russell's lost the DRS on Verstappen as well, which is good news. Come on, Mick, you can see the Ferrari. Get him. I'm marginally concerned by Bottas behind as well. He's only 8/10 off being DRS, so I just need to keep him out of DRS for the last 2 laps, basically. And if Mick can get closer, that'll be even better. So 2 laps to go, 56% tyres, and 2 seconds is the gap. If I can get Mick into 7th, that'll be wonderful. Oh, actually, he's going to be well within DRS. He's only 1.1 behind. He could be in DRS by the time they get to the check line. And I think he might have been. No, just outside. So that's through these last few sectors. We'll deploy as well. In fact, actually, we'll just flip it to overtake for the time being. Push the fuel on the first half. See if we can get any of these drivers. Oh, Leclerc got through as well. Leclerc got through. So it's just Albon and Russell. Deploy from here. So it's all about whether or not Mick... I think watching the replay will allow us to really Savour the moment with Pierre. That's a victory for Pierre. Well done, Pierre. And will allow us to resume and watch the last 2 corners. Hi, Pierre. Well done. Great work. Right. Thank you, Pierre. But we need to actually watch your teammate briefly here as he's going through the last couple of corners. Unfortunately, he's gone through the last couple of corners, not in a great angle of attack, so he will finish 8th. I thought he was actually going to be fighting there, but he wasn't. Still, 20th to 8th for Mick isn't bad. I don't really know what happened to McLaren's, because they qualified 8th and 10th. And Norris was up to 5th before the first round of pit stops. So that's clearly just like very poorly optimized pit stops. I don't think anyone was lapped because it's such a long lap. I say such a long, it's a minute and a half, but well, it's another victory for Pierre. Pierre's winning the championship at this point. It's kind of fascinating actually how they decided their strategies, because the 2 stops for Verstappen and Leclerc hurt them, and yet the 2 stops for Pierre didn't. And that might be entirely down to tyre choice. I mean, I don't know why we're focusing on Carlos Sainz, who was 3rd. So it's good news for Pierre, bad news for Mick. Yeah, I mean the 2 stop didn't work for Max and Charles because they got stuck behind Albon and Russell and just couldn't get through them as easily as Pierre did, who also got fastest lap for good measure with a 1:28.5. But Mick up 12 places to 8. Solid work, Mick. Well done. And did catch Albon and Russell to the end there. So his 2 stop strategy did work for him, going through going through all the other 2 stoppers pretty much, and one of the 1 stoppers. So the fact that Mick got past Valtteri Bottas, who was also on a 2-stop strategy in a Merc, is incredible work there, really. And considering the pace of the McLarens, getting past them 2 as well was pretty solid, considering he started at the back. So we worked with Mick there, that went well. Pierre extends his lead, is now 90 points. I don't really know what to say about that now. Unfortunately, Mick obviously taking his penalties there. Might work in his favour later in the season, of course. But right now he's kind of losing a little bit touch on 4th. It's now Albon's turn to jump to 10th with 8 points. And 4 drivers still without them. Technically, the championship is closed. Actually, no. Technically, this keeps happening. Technically, we've extended the championship again by virtue of the fact it's the 3rd place team that's got more points than us this time round. Because it was Ferrari that were directly behind. We've gained 5 points on them. So I think we've technically extended our lead by 4 points overall. I don't know how the maths works out on that, but AlphaTauri jumped past. And because Pierre didn't have to overtake anyone all race pretty much, except for when he pitted, only 890 points for winning the damn thing. This definitely needs to be fixed in F1 Manager 23. Points for winning needs to be a thing. Points for finished position in general. They can't go overboard, otherwise it's going to be interesting how they deal with that, because in the first years, obviously, you're going to have like someone like Max Verstappen winning every race and therefore getting all the potential growth. So it'll be interesting how they sort of mediate that going forward. But I think part of growth potential going forward will also need to be what rating they're actually on at that point in time as well. So if they're on a 93 rating already, then that growth potential should be a lot lower. So therefore, if you win every race, then you're still probably only going to get to like maybe 93 by the end of the 94 by the end of the year, for instance. It does need to be an exponential based on that as well, or indeed a ability cap as well, like you get in Football Manager. But 1,000 points for Mick, who did a 16 overtakes. It's less overtakes than they look like because he got some of them through the pit stops. But good money as well. We did lose out on one of the incentives just because we didn't get Mick into Q3. There is just one thing I want to finish off on, by the way. I still haven't done anything about the technical chief. And that's because I'm thinking I wait till this memorabilia room is upgraded, because the boardroom gets refurbished in 3 days. That gets done in 5 days. And both of those come with attractiveness gains. Now, the hospitality area takes another 46 days to improve, but it will improve soon. And we're actually improving that to step 4. And the team attractiveness with that will go to 40% in 46 days. Well, no, sorry. It's 40 points and then 20%. So that's the one that gets the attractiveness up overall most of all. So if we can't entice someone over by the end of this memorabilia room, just improving that by a few more points and refreshing the board as well. If we can't entice either the Red Bull or Ferrari chief, I might just hold off to see if the hospitality area will do it. Because really, it's all well and good swapping in for someone that's 2 points more. But if we can entice either of these two, particularly Pierre Wache, of course, at Red Bull, who's 5 points better off, then it might be worthwhile. Shout out to Jan Mosho at Alfa Romeo stealing a living down there. But I suppose, actually, to be fair, he's on 72, and literally everyone who's a free agent between him and Ben Watkins is 73 at best. So, all right. But that's it. Red Bull Ring this time around can be a bit of a DRS fest, but we've never done Red Bull Ring as one of the front-running vehicles. We've always kind of been a mid-pack vehicle for Red Bull Ring, and we've just got stuck in those DRS trays and not really progressed all that much. I think last year we may have taken penalties here, which made things worse. So, Red Bull Ring, we won't actually have the memorabilia room done by the Red Bull Ring, so that technical chief decision will happen after that race, but we'll see how that goes. 72 points clear in the Constructors, 90 points clear in the drivers. And Red Bull Ring marks the halfway point. My initial, they're going to catch up eventually, surely, stance is slowly drifting to surely not. Surely not. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal by now. Until next time, ta-ra.